to Congresswoman Fudge, as well as Dr. Rouse. Thank you for your willingness to serve our country, and I look forward to having a meaningful dialogue about some of the issues that will be very important to the nation. And frankly, Congresswoman Fudge, I have respect for you and appreciation for your willingness to serve. And I think you and I are philosophically disjointed on a number of issues, but your willingness to serve is strong. I do want to talk a little bit about some of the previous comments that you've made about the Republican Party as it relates to race. That I think I can't say that your comments were taken out of context. I would simply say that I would love to have a longer conversation about how effective the Republican Party has been on meeting some of the needs of the most vulnerable people in this country, specifically minorities, over the last several years. I have certainly played a role in making sure that some of the priorities that impacts our community have been brought to the surface, to the top, and have been prioritized by the Republican Party. And just to name a few, and I'm going to get to the question that I have, highest level of funding for HBCUs in the history of this country, permanent funding for the first time in the history of the country, the lowest unemployment rate ever recorded pre-pandemic in the history of the country for African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, 60-year low for women as well. Research on rare blood diseases to include sickle cell anemia, criminal justice reform that actually, frankly, made up for some of the challenges of Mr. Biden, President Biden's 1994 law. Increases in labor force participation rate. I believe at 2016, the home ownership for African Americans was around 41%. Today it's around 46%, and that's even after the dip of the pandemic. Poverty at the lowest rate recorded since 1959. Aid to Black farmers that I've worked on through heirs property, focusing on heirs property as a real issue. Coming from the South, I know and understand and appreciate the value of allowing African American farmers to use heirs property in a way to obtain a farm number so that they can participate fully in the USDA. It's really important. And finally, opportunity zones that are having a positive, strong impact throughout this country. And frankly, the TCJA certainly was passed on a partisan level only, but the opportunity zone legislation is legislation that was co-sponsored by Cory Booker and House members that are Democrats and Republicans. And to that end, I hope, and my question for you is, can I count on you to take serious the opportunity to use opportunity zones as a way of meeting some of the challenging needs that we have from a housing stock around the country?
Thank you so much, Senator Scott. It's nice to see you, actually.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a pleasure. And it is my pleasure to have a conversation with you about what you have done as it relates to minority communities and communities that are hurting. It would indeed be something that I'd like to discuss with you. As it relates to opportunity zones, I will take seriously, of course, opportunity zones. Certainly, I would like to, if confirmed, to get into the office and look at how many jobs have been created, how many sustainable jobs have been created, what the cost has been. I mean, I think that you have to be driven by data, and I will absolutely take it seriously. I know it's something important to you and would be happy to have those conversations with you going forward.
Thank you. I will note that in opportunity zones, they are responsible for helping, even in Columbus, Ohio, 50 incarcerated individuals in Columbus find housing, 95 units of workforce housing, 100 new jobs in Cleveland. In my state, Hampton County, a very poor rural community, 1,500 jobs in a community that only has 5,000 jobs brought to them by opportunity zones. And that continues throughout major cities from Birmingham to Rock Hill, South Carolina, where we're using opportunity zones to really challenge the playing field for those folks who have been left out and who are desperate for housing. Speaking of being desperate for housing, about 22 million Americans live in manufactured housing throughout this country, 1 in 5 in South Carolina. The definition of manufacturing housing is no longer the trailers that people come to mind. Manufacturing housing has a diversity within its construct, and I would love to hear that you have an interest and perhaps even a passion for making sure that we continue to prioritize manufacturing housing as one of the ways for us to lower the cost and make more homeowners, make homeownership more possible for more Americans. Have you done any homework on the manufacturing housing? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on using that to meet some of the needs that we have throughout the community.
Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, thank you, Senator, for the question. I have done research. I have actually had conversations with those who build manufactured housing. I think it's an outstanding option The cost is about $78,000 to $100,000 a home. It is affordable. It is something we can do rapidly. I am 100% supportive of looking more into how we incorporate manufactured housing.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Chairman.